For the last few days we've been gathering the ewes in. The ones we put up here are ones that have single lambs in them, so we're bringing them home to lamb. But you can see the terrain up here now, it's fairly rough, and it can be tricky getting out these ladies now at this time of the year because, you know, they're not in their full form. And this rocky valley is only a small part of our hill, but it's where the sheep like to come down to in the winter when the weather gets rough and all. It's a nice sheltery sort of a place for them. But it's easy to gather a big bunch of sheep, but here this time of the year is when you need to have a bit of stockmanship and you need to be a bit clever around the sheep. I talk about this a lot in clinics, about, we need to think about our stock, and, and the same way we need to think about our dogs, what's in it for them. So here's a typical example of a ewe getting tired, and I let the dog bite her once or twice, but I give her a chance to go, and I realised that this one's just too tired to travel. We'll have to leave her here and pick her up later on. So in this scenario, we need a dog that's not afraid of confrontation, but that's under really good control, because we're trying to give her the chance to choose to leave. Lie down. And so we pushed up 4 or 5 of these, and this one is just tired now. We're trying to give her a little rest, and we're going to try again then.
And then I'll lead you to jump.
That'll do, that'll do. So I'm thinking here, I'm conscious, what's this sheep learning here? I don't want her to learn that she can go up so far and then screw the dog. But if I continue to push her with the dog, she'll jump off that big ledge. She could kill herself, but if nothing else, she'll single herself off from the rest of the group and be even more awkward to get. So I've taken the choice to call back off the dog and to give her a chance to buddy up with her friends who are behind that rock. So I get a little bunch here, and Ollie comes in from the other side, and he goes off at some of them. That horny one that you can see there, she's a little fucker. She ducks off and leaves the rest of her friends, and she goes around the back of that rock there, and Ollie picks her up on the way down, which was fortunate, because see, that's the trouble, they'd be always learning, so she'd be learning to screw us the next time. But up over her is the other bunch that she left, and we get these. There's a couple of minute that we don't need. They have blue on the back of their heads. Those ones they've no lambs in them. But as we bring these 3 up, we go up more and we meet in with some more, and so we try to keep them together. Here we are now. We're down to 6. I haven't got all of this in the video now because it was very tricky trying to keep them together. There was 3 more. I think they're over to the left there. And between me and Ben, the dog, we were trying to. The other 3, they were a different fella's sheep, and they know that they're a different fella's sheep. And so they were trying to split out, so we let them off. And so these 6 sheep, while they all belong to Ollie Miley, we have a bunch of 3 there that are kind of fitter and want to run up the hill. We have this bunch of 3 here that are trying to come up with another plan. And there's actually one in this bunch that would love to just piss off back down into the rocks herself. She hasn't got that much energy. So we're just gradually touching him with the dog and letting him see me and the dog, and to try and keep him heading on up the hill. One wants to do nothing, only come back down the hill. So we have to be very careful how we handle her. The dog needs to be under really good control here. He needs to give you the width in the flank that you need. He needs to stop when you tell him. He needs to stay stopped. Now the trouble with this video, it doesn't really convey how difficult this was to keep the 6 sheep together. But a few times the dog would be going out on a tight flank and I'd have to stop him and give out to him and make him bend off out, because one wrong move there and you'd have maybe only have 3 of those sheep instead of 6. But what we're trying to do is keep the fit ones, the ones that want to run away, trying to keep those back in with the others. And what happens is the fit ones and the stronger ones kind of suck the other ones on up the hill, and you manage to keep them all together, but you have to be very delicate with it, and at the same time you can't allow the fit ones to run away. So I got him into the pen, but you can see just how weak that weak one was. It was a miracle to get her up this far. And so now I'll just give her a little chance here to rest, and she'll move on in with the rest there, but just we have to take a bit of care of them. But the thing I try to explain to people in clinics is to start thinking about your stock. If your sheep are knee knockers, well, you've trained them to be knee knockers. And so, they're not just dummies there. You need to be watching them. They're thinking, they're wide awake. Their brain is working perfectly well, and they're not stupid. The trouble is when you don't do this kind of regular work and all, you never run into the kind of consequences that if your dog doesn't stop or your dog screws up some little thing and all, the consequences are never that big. On the mountain, if the dog screws up, it could cost that weak sheep its life because we mightn't have been able to take it in, and maybe we go back for it in a few days and it'll be dead. Or, there's consequences to everything you do. So that's why it needs to be right. Consequence might be that it might put an extra 2 hours work on you, that you have to go back and look for that ewe. And while you do get her, there was another day wasted going after her. I came across a Brian Newbert audio thing there about stockmanship, and I'm going to share it if I can into Patreon here, and I think it's worth having a listen to too. I might try and find more examples of this for videos, just to bring your awareness around, because that's all it is. It's just becoming aware of the sheep and what's actually happening, and because we're juggling 4 or 5 different balls all at the same time. So in as much as we can, we want to kind of keep an eye on what's happening with all of them. The sheep, the dog, what they're learning. There's a multitude of stuff happening there, even though we might just see it as we're training our dog.